Good morning, everyone, and welcome. We're so happy to have you here today for our Know Your Neighborhood presentation. This presentation today will be our first live presentation since the month of February. It's hard to believe, but we're happy that we're able to start these Know Your Neighborhood monthly presentations once again. Today I'm joined by our executive chef, Chef Stephen Scott, who's going to be presenting on scratch cooking. So we welcome you.
Thank you, Celeste. All right, everyone, welcome and thank you for coming to the presentation today. This is something that all chefs, at least all the chefs that work with me here at Moorings Park, are very passionate about, and that is fresh scratch cooking. A lot of places will buy things pre-made, pre-done, pre-frozen, such as soups, stocks, things of that nature. That's not something that we participate in. Every one of the soups that you enjoy, we were just chatting about soups, all of them are made from scratch. Same thing with everything on our menus. Everything is scratch cooked. Everything. Literally from top to bottom. We buy nothing pre-done, pre-made, pre-frozen, no processed. So that's really sort of one of the cornerstones of who Unidyne is and who I am as a chef. This fresh food pledge that you see here, this is in every single account that we operate. Day one, every chef, cook, utility worker signs this very form at the bottom. That's why that bottom is blank. So we go through, and this is very much how we run our business day to day. Okay, we don't buy frozen vegetables, with a few exceptions. Lima beans, corn. That's it. None of our vegetables are ever frozen. They're always fresh. We try to responsibly source all of our items. The nice thing is we know through our website and through our ordering system if it's local. So I try to buy as much locally sourced product as I possibly can. In addition to it being fresh, we also try to do a lot of local purchasing. We are very much environmentally conscious as well with regards to trimmings and scraps and things of that nature. We save all of those items, and those go into make a vegetable broth that will then turn into a beautiful vegetable soup. So all of our broths are also scratch made, which is something that I love to do. Soups are one of my favorite things to make. And pardon me, and some of our chefs' favorite things to do as well. Seasonal and local, what you guys are going to see right now, again, we touched on the local piece, but seasonality is something that's very important as well. Now that we're starting to come out of the summer months and go into the fall and winter, you're probably going to see a lot more squashes, root vegetables, and things of that nature, so we try to keep with the season. And healthy offerings, as I was just chatting with Mrs. Levine, that's something that we're very much focused on right now with regards to the Blue Zone certification that we're trying for. And you guys have seen the new menus that come out attached to the soup menus. You'll see our plant forward or our plant-based menu option for the day. So we run, in addition to the specials for the dining room and in-home dining, we also have that healthy plant-based option every single day, which is something that I truly am passionate about. I do also, every Monday, we have a meatless Monday around my house. So I don't eat any meat. Everything that I eat on a Monday will be from the earth, which is really something that I enjoy. The one thing that I really like about the fresh food is when I'm making a recipe, I can pronounce everything in the dish. Okay, there aren't any chemicals, there's no additives, there's no preservatives, none of those things exist in our world. If we do use, say, bouillon or base, it's all low sodium and also MSG free. So occasionally we will do that for a gravy or for a soup to add a little extra depth. But again, all low sodium and certainly without any MSG whatsoever. We used very little canned goods, honestly, some beans maybe, tomatoes, and that's about it. Nothing else comes out of a can in our world. It's not good. It's not good. Tuna fish would be another one that would come in a can. Everything else comes off the earth. It's great. I love it. We don't use any preservatives in any way, none whatsoever, which is something that is very important. I don't know what they are. I don't know what they do to the body, and we don't like to use them in any way. Also, trans fats. They don't exist. We use either canola oil or virgin olive oil. Those are the only two oils we have in our kitchen. Honestly, that's it. Even our fryer, so French fries and things of that nature, all done with canola oil. Never any trans fat whatsoever. So you guys can feel free to enjoy our fried foods as well. Okay. Could I have the next slide, please? Do I have the clicker? I do. Celeste, I don't know. Ah, there we go. So this is the classic case of the food mill, so to speak, where they're just pumping it out. You have no idea what's going in it. Even the potato chips you all enjoy every day, we make those here scratch. Okay, those aren't coming out of a bag. They're not coming out of a box, unless you get the Lay's. Some of our residents enjoy those, so we do provide them. However, if you dine on a sandwich in the Park Grill and you order chips, you're getting fresh kettle chips. The nutrient content, very important. You know, with those processed foods, oftentimes some of those nutrients are lost. We don't do that. We try to keep all those healthy, delicious, beautiful produce and vegetables as healthful as possible through the methods that we use for cooking. We do try to limit, especially now, the amount of sodium that we use. Okay, we understand that given the resident population's age, we do not necessarily season our food as if I were eating it. We try to let the ingredients speak for themselves, and we know there are salt and pepper shakers on the table. So if you choose to add a little more salt, that's up to you, but we try to keep as little sodium added to your food as possible. We try to compensate with that with fresh herbs and spices to bring out the natural flavors of the ingredients without having to load it up with salt. And again, we've touched on that. We add no artificial additives or flavorings. We don't even use food coloring. For example, when we did the cakes for Valentine's Day, we actually rendered beets and used the liquid from the red beets to change the icing to red, not artificial food coloring. So those are some of the things that we do to not use anything that I don't know where it came from and I can't pronounce. This is something that we will be doing with some of those plant-forward and plant-based menu items. We'll start providing the nutritionals on those as well once we get a little bit further into the program. So you'll know exactly what you're doing, what you're eating, and how the nutrition, you know, what nutritional content is there for you. Also, as you've noticed with some of the plant-based items, we don't take the typical cop-out of tofu. Yes, we do use it from time to time, but I'm trying to get you your proteins in a little bit of a better source. You've noticed we use a lot of quinoa. Quinoa is a complete protein, has all the essential amino acids, much like a steak. We try to use a lot of beans, lentils, things of that nature to provide the protein as opposed to just doing tofu. You know, I just feel like we can be a lot more creative with some of the items that we have versus tofu. But we do use it occasionally, but very rarely. And again, natural flavors kept. We like beautiful and bright. Whenever I'm trying to plate a dinner, I always like to see a lot of color, reds, greens, purples. With the produce that we have at our ready, the sky's the limit as far as what we can do with it. And that's really what I have. Again, speaking to the welfare and sustainability, all of our fish that we source is all sustainable. Okay, we don't, you notice I don't use a lot of sea bass. Reason why? It's an endangered, or it's a pressured species, so we don't really do a lot with that because it just doesn't fit into our model. It doesn't fit into what we're about, which is sustainability. All right? And again, we touched on the food waste. Everything, literally, onion tops and bottoms, carrot peelings, all go into stocks. That's where all of that stuff goes. So literally, we have very little waste when it comes to food. And what I'd really like to do at this point is answer it up to questions, answers, and really see where you guys, what you all have for me. And then maybe I can enlighten you a little bit with regards to what it is we do every day.
I want to thank you for the low sodium. I was tried for a long time to get low sodium soup, and you now have it, and I really appreciate it because there are quite a few people that are looking for no sodium items. And my favorite vegetable is Brussels sprouts. Is that going to be more in the fall, or is that, I know you had it for 1 week and that was it.
Yes. So we've, obviously with the pandemic being here, it's very hit and miss with what we can source. So we'll order it, it'll say it's available, and then it just doesn't show up. And then we call the produce company, and there's this, yes. So Brussels sprouts have normalized, and I actually have some in-house now, and we're looking to do that for the next menu cycle. Yes, ma'am. Brussels sprouts for sure. And oddly enough, my least favorite vegetable. I could smell it when my mother, like before I even walked in the door.
Yeah.
I knew. It was like, oh, it's Brussels sprouts. And she always made me taste them, too. Every time. No matter we liked it or not, I had to eat one. And I loathed that day.
Chef Steve,
Yes.
we have talked about that to have whole grain bread on the table rather than what we have now.
Okay. So how we have attacked the fresh baking is we're trying to offer variety. So we do offer a whole wheat offering. It's not always on the menu, but you'll notice they'll always have little oats sprinkled on top. Those are the whole wheat rolls. So we do those probably 2 to 3 times a week. I can't say that they would be in their bread basket every day because the vast majority of the residents like the options. They like the constant change of whatever comes in their bread basket. Now, what I would recommend is if it's whole wheat that you're looking for, you could mention to the server, because there are often times where we'll have multiple different types of rolls baked at the same time. So if you mention to your server, oh, in our bread basket, could you check to see if you have any whole wheat rolls available, and we'd be happy to accommodate.
I'm actually waiting for something that has whole kernels of grain in it.
Okay, that's fair enough,
And I have
and I can look
not-
into that. I can't say that it'll happen
not-
tomorrow, but that's something that we can certainly look into, sourcing a more of a multi-grain kind of dinner roll. Absolutely. I'll check into that for you promptly. Uh-huh. Yeah.
I understand the low sodium soups, but how about just the regular soups? How are they, you try to minimize the salt, or?
Absolutely, we do, in every way possible. I put enough salt, just to let you know it's there. We don't oversalt anything, and then we leave it to each individual to add a little more if they so choose. Yes, absolutely. Just because it says the low sodium, oftentimes what we do is we have a broth-based soup, because some of our soups will have a little bit of cream in it, or they'll be a little bit thicker. Sometimes we'll use potatoes as the thickener. So some people want something a little lighter, and that's why we offer the soup of the day, and then we always have a broth-based soup for those. And sometimes people just have an ill stomach, or they just want something very light. That's why we have that offering as well. So it's 2 birds with 1 stone. It's low sodium, and it offers another alternative for soup, so you don't have to be locked into just the soup of the day. Any other questions? Come on, everybody should ask me at least one.
I'm waiting for a new menu in Park Grill.
Funny. I'm glad that you brought that up. And Park Grill menu, we are currently in the tasting process. So we will be doing some demonstrations for Richard, Serge, and the management team this coming week and the next. And then as we open up into the new capacities, that's when we should expect the launch of the new Park Grill menu. Okay, we're trying to get back to, if you recall, when we first opened up the restaurant again, we had sort of the taste of all the different restaurants. Lots of fresh seafood, very bright and fun. That's sort of the menu style that we're going back to with the relaunch of Park Grill.
I hope you never get rid of the wonderful spinach and berry salad that you have at the Park Grill. I usually ask for it chopped just because it's easier to eat, but I think that is one of your real highlights there. It's healthy and it's tasty and it's fun to eat, and It's a really big plus.
Yes, there are a few of those items on our menus that if I were to ever remove, it would be anarchy, and good Lord knows I don't need that. So yes, spinach and berry would be one of them in Park Grill. The other one would be the escargot in the clubhouse. If I ever tried to get rid of that, I'd have people banging down my door. I know that. So there are some particular items, spinach berry being one of them. It's going nowhere. Okay, it's a crowd favorite, and I would never ever remove it. Plus, it lends itself well to adding a piece of protein to it as well. You could add a piece of grilled tofu or a piece of salmon. Works really well with it as well. Yep, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Great job. I think you do a great job with fish. We used to have very good. We were afraid that maybe with a new dining service that we would fish, but I think you've done a really good job. With difficult for you, but we try to order the salmon grilled, and we try to order it almost raw, because if we're going to put it in the microwave,
Absolutely.
then that works well.
Yes, and we'll always, just so you guys are aware, if you do ever order salmon especially, not so much with the other fish, but we will slightly undercook it, knowing that you're going to have to reheat it. Okay, so that's something that's very much in our minds when we do that. And thank you very much for your comments about the fresh fish. My background is, so I was at the Ritz-Carlton here on the beach. We were a 5-star, 5-diamond property, and I was there for almost a little over 8 years. All right, so I've worked with some of the best chefs in the world for a very long time. We use the same fishmonger as the hotel did, that we use here. So it is always fresh. I get a phone call every single day from our representative. He lets me know, hey, I have this on special, or we have this, or we have some fresh this. It's a number of different items that we're choosing, and we are starting to mix it up quite a bit. I noticed we ran triple tail, which is a local fish, only pole caught. So we're trying to really think about fresh, fresh, fresh. Absolutely. And we, on this campus alone, just in the clubhouse and Park Grill, we'll go through anywhere between 140 and 160 pounds of salmon per week. So you guys really like the salmon. But we are going to, and we always have the fresh yellowtail snapper as well on the menu. And then moving forward, we're always going to have a different catch of the day. So we're really going to start to really focus in on the fresh fish for all of you. And not just fish, we'll have scallops and things like that as well. So quite a bit.
You also have some creative things that I always wonder how popular they are. We have lived in Japan when we were first married 66 years ago. And
Wow,
so
66 years. That's impressive.
To, more exotic foods. But you do have the nice little,
The wok dishes?
The
The ahi tuna, yes.
Yeah. And is that popular?
Absolutely, yes. Yes, we sell quite a bit of it, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we have it, it's featured in 2 different menu items. We have the ahi tuna plate, which is more of the Asian flavors with wakame salad and the soy. And then we also offer that exact same tuna steak. We'll offer that on our tuna niswa salad. So you have the French take on tuna, and then we also have sort of an Asian flair with regards to the tuna.
It's also fun to have the cookies. You do a nice job with cookies on
I'm amazed.
dessert.
So the salmon, as I said, about 160 pounds, and this is not an exaggeration. From Clubhouse, between in-home dining and the dining rooms, we'll go through roughly 600 cookies a week. Yes, you guys love cookies and salmon. It's okay.
Fun. Yeah.
We have plenty of both.
It's also nice, you have a couple of other things that I think are really great. One of them is the, if you don't take the soup, we have a hard time sometimes deciding, because if you don't take the soup, then instead we will get the green salad. And we find those keep pretty well in the refrigerator, and then you can make your own salad with other, if you have other things yourself that you want to add, but it gives a nice base if you're trying to get more vegetables into your meal.
And the portions of our food that we do serve to in-home dining, that was by design because we knew, at least in the beginning, we weren't doing any lunch. So we wanted to make sure that if you needed a little lunch the next day, the portions were large enough where you could have, a nice dinner salad for your dinner and then some left over for the next day. Absolutely. That was very much in the forefront.
Back to seafood.
Yes.
Two of my favorites are Bronzini and Pompano.
Uh-huh.
Could you speak to those and their availability?
Yeah, absolutely. Bronzino is something that we have run a few times. We did that actually for Rosh Hashanah. We had the Bronzino. The tiger of the sea is what they call it. And yes, we will absolutely. Bronzino is one that we can get quite readily. Pompano is a little more difficult. It's very much if they have it or don't. It's not something they stock on the regular. But that is something that I'll look into today. Most definitely. I love pompano. And another local fish that we would just come right out of here. So that's something that we'll look for.
Just out of curiosity, you said the two vegetables that can be frozen are corn and lima beans. What is the reason for that?
Well, corn's very seasonal. I'm from one of the largest corn producing states in the U.S. I grew up in Indiana, so a lot of corn there. And we'll use fresh when available. We only use frozen corn if fresh isn't available. And lima beans is just one of those, it's just sort of an outlier. Lima beans, if you've ever had to shuck lima beans, it's quite a arduous process. So that would be, but again, you don't see lima beans ever just featured on the menu. Occasionally we use it to mix it into a succotash, but that would be the extent of our use of lima beans for the most part. Yeah, we try to keep it as fresh as we possibly can. Peas will come frozen as well. Peas is another one of those items that's the only way we can get them really is frozen. But they're very, very fresh, super tender. When they are cooked, we have a very good source for our frozen peas. But those are the three exceptions, and the corn especially only when corn is not in season. And you notice we did a couple of boils, the lobster boils and the crab and all that. That was all fresh corn. So whenever we do a barbecue, if fresh corn's available, that's what we're having. I just don't like to get corn from other places because you can source pretty much anything. With the way the world is these days, if it's out of season in the U.S., it's in season in South America, and that's typically where it will come from. I personally don't really care for that. It just doesn't taste the same. And being from Indiana, I know good corn, and it's just not. So we'll try to use the corn grown here in the U.S., especially locally, too. That's more important, is the local sourcing.
I love your soups, and most particularly the vegetable soup. The more vegetable soup is what I know. A lot of my friends like that too.
The vegetable soups.
The vegetable soup.
And typically, if you've noticed, we do have some soups with meat, but I would say probably 70% of our soups are non-meat-based soups. We do a lot with vegetables. Pretty much all of our soups are vegetables, with very few exceptions. Chicken and noodle, beef vegetable, but other than that, pretty much all vegetable-based. And we found that the vast majority of the population here at Moorings Park, that's what they enjoy, are the vegetable-based soups. So we try to do as much of that as possible.
Did you get a new baker? Because the rolls are so much better than they used to be.
Actually, we do have a number of different people involved with our fresh baking program, and thank you for noticing. There is quite a bit. So every single day, without fail, we bake fresh rolls. So it could be our baker doing it one day, or it could be our utility person doing it the next day. But yes, I have multiple people in the kitchen trained to do the fresh baking. Yes, absolutely. And in addition to that, every dessert you guys are enjoying are also made in-house, with very few exceptions.
Just wondered about with the bread. Somebody asked earlier, would it be difficult to... Rolls are very nice, but once we did have, I think at the beginning, you did make some that were more, it seemed like more within the roll itself.
Okay, and those actually were from a company called La Brea, and they were what we call par-baked. So they were already made. We got away from them because again, speaking to the fresh food, we really wanted, that was more in the pandemic. It was sort of a necessary evil to make sure you guys had dinner rolls every day. But now that we've normalized and supply chain is back on track and we're starting to get what we order, we've moved away from those that we didn't make ourselves. I will look into recipes because I don't want to just launch something and it not be good. You know, I never want to do something that's just okay. I'm not in the business of okay. So we would do some test recipes, see which one we like the best, and then that would be the one that we would use. So it would take a little bit of research and development on our part before we would want to put something out there that isn't 100%.
Even though the breads, would be nice if they were healthier with multigrain, but in addition, that's reminding me to drink water. Sorry. But even if we've had something that was maybe less healthy but fun to eat, like at Moorings Park at Gray Oaks has those, they used to have those very crispy, flat breads. They were sort of halfway between a bread and a cracker.
With the raisin?
And everybody, I don't remember, but
Yeah.
everybody loved those.
So let me demystify that. Essentially, all that is, that's a humongous loaf of raisin bread that they put on a slicer. They slice and toast. That's really all it is. Raisin bread toasted. Sure.
Have interesting breads at dinner, even though we know we shouldn't necessarily be eating so many of them.
Everybody loves bread. Who doesn't love bread? I love bread. So yes, that's something we can look into, doing some sort of flatbread or crisps one evening, absolutely. I don't want to get too far out of our realm because you're going to have those diehards that want a fresh soft-baked roll. So it's sort of, kind of tiptoeing on the line there that we want to make sure that we're pleasing everyone and not just the few. Yeah. So thank you all. I really appreciate the support from all of you. Please know that I'm always available. I have a stack of business cards at the front desk with Ellen. So if you ever wanted to drop a line to me via email, I welcome it. I read all of my emails and I'll respond within a 24-hour period. So one business day, you'll have a reply from me one way or the other. If you ever just want to say hello, hey, I'm there. Okay, always available. I'm here 5 days a week, sometimes 6, sometimes 7. So I'm always out and about, and if you see me, please talk. I've spoken to everyone in this room on a number of different occasions. I love interacting with you all. This is one of the reasons why I chose this profession, to get out of the big hotels and come to something that's a little more, where we can create a relationship, a friendship, if you will. Mrs. Hess, we chat every time I see her, we chat. And everyone in this room, every time I see you, we always have a conversation, and I enjoy those. I enjoy that interaction, and that's how we get better. That's how we improve what we do every day, is feedback from you all. So I encourage, please fill out a comment card, good, bad, or indifferent. We need to know. If we're doing a good job, I want to know, and if we're not, I certainly want to know. Yes?
Are really very helpful. I'm so disappointed that more people didn't show up for this. Maybe more will come this afternoon. But I think it would be great if you had, within our, our weekly letters and so forth on the campus, have these very attractive slides. You could have something like this as sort of education, and
Sure.
people might be tempt people to get more interested in the foods.
Yeah.
Because I think this was excellent.
And I have noticed, just from a culinary perspective, so when I first arrived, we had one vegan resident, only one. So we would do something for her. Every night she would come into the dining room, we'd do something different for her. Yesterday alone, 14 plant-based meals went out for just in-home dining. So we've seen it go from 1 to 14 in the matter of 6 months. Over the pandemic, we've seen that shift where more and more people are being involved and being interested in that plant-based item. And these are die-hard carnivores I'm talking about. These aren't just, the people trying to live, Ms. Levine, I know that you and your husband have been healthy living for quite some time. But these are people that are ordering, the 14-ounce ribeye, and then they're ordering a plant-based meal. So that means that people are paying attention, that it's good, and we're very excited to do it. It gives us a chance to be creative as chefs. You kind of get into that mode of doing the same thing over and over again, where this sort of breaks us out of that and gives us something different to do. It's a challenge every single day to come up with a new vegan dish or a new vegetarian dish, and it's a lot of fun for us. We get to play with our food a little bit, so it's kind of fun. Thank you all very much. I do truly appreciate it, and again, I'm available if you need me.
Thank you, Chef Stephen. We're so happy and fortunate to have you here at Moorings Park. I want to thank all of you for coming and remind your friends that this will be posted on the neighborhood website for all to view. And have a great day and stay well. Thank you.